Hello and welcome to the Empowered Couples Podcast, where here you get modern, non-boring relationship advice for you and your partner to communicate like pros, fight smarter, and stay on the same team no matter the challenge that you face. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Freeman.
And I'm Jocelyn Freeman, but you all just know us as the Freemans.
And this episode is about the 6 human needs and how they are fulfilled in your relationship, as well as what happens when they're not.
And I think this episode is going to be exciting for you all because I cannot recall talking about these 6 human needs, and it's different than the initial ones you may think of. Like you're going to think, oh, they're going to talk about needing to be understood. They're going to need, they're going to talk about the 5 love languages. No. This is different. So you're really going to, I think, be excited by these. And it came up from coaching sessions and really noticing in the last couple of weeks that a big topic has been about not feeling completely fulfilled. And they don't really always know why. And of course, there's many reasons that would lead to a lack of fulfillment. But this is one that we kind of noticed was there are some base human needs that sometimes aren't being met in a relationship. And then it can have an impact.
And the 6 human needs are not from us. We first heard them from Tony Robbins' sort of famous TED Talk, if you will.
Shout out to Tony.
Yeah. And so the 6 human needs from an individual perspective, and I am surprised we haven't talked about this. We had to have, of almost 200 episodes, we've had to have mentioned it one time, however long ago it might have been. So we want to bring this back because how they do show up in your relationship is very interesting and very subtle. But the base here is these needs, which fulfill an emotional type of need, drives all your actions. Positive and negative. So one of the things that kind of about this that I might hear a listener like saying like I'm, my ESP is on, and maybe it's for the males. Someone in the relationship might say, I'm not an emotional person. And I just want to say that's false. If you're alive and you're a human being, you have emotions. Now, what you mean by not being an emotional person is that a few things. One, you're not connected to what you feel. You don't have the language for it. But also that you've related to being emotional in other circumstances where people were very outwardly reactive when they were feeling emotion. So that's not, in a sense, being emotional in this context of everything in your life. All these needs you need to have fulfilled to have a fulfilling relationship are, in a sense, emotional. And when they're not being met, you have dissatisfaction. And for some, you might subconsciously start to seek for those needs to be fulfilled elsewhere.
Or become less engaged.
Oh, totally.
Like just become less engaged and excited. Okay, I think let's share the impact of not having them met and how to fill, tips for filling them later. Let's do the 6 human needs first, because I know everyone's eager with their pen and paper to be like, I want to write these down, or maybe on your phone notepad. So the first one is certainty. And certainty is the feeling of safety, security. You know that there is a certain element of quote unquote predictability. Some examples that I look for in a relationship is I know.
You look for in a relationship? You're looking for to be in multiple relationships?
I should have said I look for it in our relationship. Sorry. Brain moment there. Is, for example, finances. You even brought up finances this morning and something you're researching and learning more about, and you pursuing that and really keeping your eye on finances is a way I feel certainty. Just that you're caring about our future, you're learning about different ways that we can continue to thrive financially. It makes me feel certain.
Yeah, you might even say the certain feeling of that we're going to be okay, which is typically, like you said, around food is pretty base Maslow's hierarchy, right? That you're going to be able to eat, and the shelter, but also just even maybe the security of the life that you have, right? That it can be, I think a good word that you said is a certain level of predictability that we're going to be safe, and it may even incorporate, your community of people around you.
Yeah, some other examples of what this might sound like in your relationship would be certainty of, approximately when they get home from work. You don't wonder, like, sometimes they get home at 6, sometimes it's 9 p.m. and they don't let me know, and I'm just sitting here waiting, and I don't know if I should make dinner or I shouldn't. That could be one. Or this also includes trust. Certainty that you feel you can really count on them and their promise and their word, and that they are sharing the truth with you always, right? So that's an area of certainty as well.
The second area is the complete opposite of that, which is uncertainty.
The second human need.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that is really about variety and spontaneity. Even though I don't identify myself as spontaneous, we all need these 6 human needs to be fulfilled. And typically there will be 2 that stand out as the most important. So we all do need these to certain extents. Now, like I said, I don't feel I'm a spontaneous person. I do seek for more routine and structure that has me feel certainty, the first one. But this is outside of the routine. If there's not any uncertainty, this is when you start to feel the mundane. It's the same. You start to lose a little bit of engagement or kind of like
it just becomes
passion.
Blah.
Yeah. So to whatever extent that is for you, things need to be switched up, whether it's the energy, the environment. There needs to be new things that happen that break up the routine.
New conversations.
For some people, if this is one that is one of your top ones, like the spontaneity and that really does drive you. Like you need your partner to sweep you off your feet and take you to another country and have this huge experience for you and have that be like once a month.
Yeah. So spontaneity is second one. And we'll share with you guys in a minute what our top 2 are. Because like Aaron said, we all feel like we all need a little bit of each of these, but then there's the top 2. The third one, though, the third human need is love/connection. And this is, feeling supported by them. It's feeling respected, cared for, of course, loved, which is different for all of us, so my version of how I feel loved is different than you. But I love that this is love/connection. Because for some people, what matters even more than kind of maybe the romantic sense of love or the love languages is feeling connected. Actually, we were on a session right before this, and the thing she said she really wants is to feel emotionally connected. And it doesn't matter how much time they spend together, right? So it's not just about time. It's not even just about that they have a great life where they do fun things. She wants to feel like we sit down and we connect heart to heart. Mm-hmm. So love/connection. Anything you'd add to that?
Well, we had a coaching session the previous week where we were talking about filling your emotional account, and we sort of slipped up and said love account. And what was interesting is he said, well, we love each other, but we're not feeling connected, right? So maybe another podcast to dive into, like, specifically, well, what is that? Like, what kind of love is that, right? We all know the feeling. It's like you're with somebody, you have this life together. So it's a certain level of, like, the person is committed to you kind of love, where the connection is really your day-to-day experience of being seen, acknowledged, respected, cared for, supported, heard, understood. I may have already said that, but there's really a much more juicier sense of the connection sometimes than that love.
Yeah, true. Okay, so the fourth human need is significance.
And this is really that you are seen as unique and special to your partner. At some point in a relationship, maybe earlier back on, there was this focus, this attentiveness.
They pursued you.
This attraction, this attention that your partner had towards you.
You're so amazing. Oh my gosh, I love it when you do that.
I've never met anyone like you. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing how you say that.
Gosh, I love spending time with you.
Oh, I've never felt So the significance, right? All of that has you feel like, wow, I'm really important to another person. Mm-hmm. And significance, I'll give you an insider's look, is one of my top human needs.
You're giving them a sneak peek into that.
I gave it away.
So significance is, I think in relationships, it can look like no matter how busy your partner is, they put down their work or whatever they have to do because they can't wait to talk to you or they want to talk to you right now. It's
if I could say it's slightly different, because I got where you were going. I'm like, oh, this is so good. Oh, she's so good at this. That they're going to prioritize you is the word it came to me, not necessarily, what was the phrase that you were just saying?
I cannot remember. Pregnancy brain.
Yeah, me too. I just had pregnancy brain. It was not that they're, I think, gonna at any moment drop every single thing because it's all about you, but it is, I think, a sense of being prioritized.
Absolutely. And I think too, I think of the word seen under this category is I see you. I see what you're doing. And I think it's amazing. I think under significance is that your partner expresses in some way that they value you, but also even like some celebration of things you do, or let's say there's something you're really passionate about, you're pursuing your health, you're pursuing a business, that they're like, I really see you and that's amazing. Again, they really respect you. You're special. You're unique to the person.
Yeah. Let's move to the fifth one. And I want to do this one because another insider's look. This is my other top one.
Okay.
So this is contribution. And contribution is that you are able to be of service. It's almost like your partner has to allow this, that they allow you to contribute to them in a positive way. And another way I thought of it is that they also acknowledge you for the contribution or the service or the way in which you supported them. And this is a really big one for me, even as a human being in life. Probably my biggest driver, like why I like being a teacher in this case, I mean, like this segment of life, or maybe my whole life, a teacher of relationship principles is the amount of contribution I get to feel to other people. And this is just as true for me in the relationship. And for anyone that has contribution, you also have to feel that you can contribute to your partner like you might to other people in your life.
And I think this is really key because without awareness on this need in your relationship, it can be easy to see that when your partner is trying to help, or maybe they're trying to whether help like physically or maybe offer you, when they're trying to give you advice or, you could do this, and you reject it. And you're like, that's not the way I do it. Or I don't need to hear this right now. If that for them is important, like being able to contribute to you, and you kind of reject it or turn it away, that can impact their needs being fulfilled, right? And I think contribution is really important to look at in a relationship because you want to feel as though my partner allows me to make a difference with them.
Oh, yeah.
They allow me to contribute to them. They are open and receptive to me.
Which is a really nice transition into number 6.
Yeah, so the 6th human need is growth. You can think of this as just progressing together. You two are getting better, you're growing, you're evolving, you're transforming. And that might be different for all of you, what's important. Maybe some of you, what's really important is growing financially. For others, it may be that you're growing in your intimacy, both, sexual and intimate and physical. It could be that you're growing spiritually. What's important to you in terms of growth is different. But for people who have this as a top human need, I want to feel like we're making progress together. I can't feel stagnant.
Exactly.
I can't, and of course, backtracking would be the worst enemy for people who value this.
And often I think couples can feel almost, if you're stagnant or in the same place, I can almost feel like you go backwards. I mean, there's the analogy, right, that a plant is either growing or dying, and that's been used to talk about
everything.
Yeah, everything. Relationships, just your own mental health or your self-image, that really either you are making progress or there's not maybe necessarily a stagnation, there's really just going backwards to whatever level that kind of might feel.
So as a reminder, and then I'll share with you what my 2 top human needs are. It is certainty, uncertainty, love/connection, significance, contribution, and growth. So those are the 6 human needs. And as we've said, you're going to need a sprinkle of each. But what top 2 are most important to you? And what I realized, Aaron, in preparing for this, because you wanted us to share a top 2, mine are different in this season. And I think that they can be somewhat seasonal, not in terms of like they change, winter versus summer, but more so of like there's big life events. And what I reflected on is, because I would have said in the past that it was significance and growth. But what I realize is with a baby coming soon, my needs are a bit differently balanced. And actually the top 2 I put are love/connection, like feeling, loved by, I think maybe because I'm, birthing your baby, like to feel, loved by you, connected to you. I think that's like especially important right now. And then also growth. So that one stayed the same actually. And I think that's because I want us to be, great parents. So it's like, are we growing? Are we growing, of course, financially to be prepared, but also are we growing in terms of who we are as people? Because I know we both want to be really great parents as we welcome her into the world.
Well, I just realized what's interesting about that change, that I didn't realize that change for you, but also a place for us to look. So reminder, my top 2, which have been this way, actually thinking about cycles of life, it wasn't this way back in college and then even out of college. It was really right as we got together, I think this changed to significance and contribution to me. I think those were innate and were going to come out at some point, but because I think I wasn't stepping into the fullest version of myself, certainty and security was my top one. Now I would say that's probably in position 3 for me now, but not being my true self, the security and the certainty was at the top of 4. So anyway, that hasn't changed for me. So the contribution one is really interesting when I think about, and we've mentioned this before, whether it's just perspective or not, sometimes I feel that it can be difficult to contribute to you. And one reason being, and I think I've heard some of your friends also share this with you, it seems like you have it together. You have a good mindset, have good practices, have good energy. And so it can seem as if, well, you got it all together. So where is there's not really any room for me to contribute because you're already there. And then that just kind of creates a slight disconnect, right? Like if I don't see room to contribute to you, then that just starts to kind of go in the decline. Now, one thing I've asked of you, which this could be a key for other relationships out there, I've asked if you would be able to notice and assert times that maybe you need to be contributed more to, or something, sharing something more that you're struggling with that gives me the ability to contribute.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I hope you realize the last couple days with what I've been sharing, which is something going on in another relationship in my life. I feel like you've majorly contributed to me, and I hope you felt I was receptive because I was asking for like, what should I say? How could I handle this?
Oh, I just realized something else. There's so many little things here. So I hope you listeners are getting a lot from us really diving into our personal life. That contribution, because it's so pivotal for me and why I became like a coach. Where do you think I'm going with this?
No, well, it might be actually what I was
That's
thinking.
why it comes off that I'm coaching you.
Oh, yes.
At times.
Okay.
So when you are sharing something, or maybe you got triggered by me, and then it feels like I'm trying to coach you out of that state, or hey, you just need to use this skill. We're coaches, like use the skills. That can come off as trying to change you, or as you say, coach you. When I hadn't even actually realized this, that's my innate trying to contribute.
Interesting.
So I'm not doing it. I think, as we all know, our partners are not doing any of these things from a malintent, but usually the execution is kind of bad, and it puts the partner on a defensive place, or we create some additional meaning. If we all pause, we realize our partners are not coming from a malintent place. It's either execution or the way that we perceived it.
I thank you for sharing that with me, and now I'll be more aware and cognizant of seeing it that way.
Well, I'm going to still not try to coach and change
No.
you.
It'll be a balance of you and I. I think what's interesting about this, I think, listeners, this will be really key. So not only are these human needs important in your relationship and to find out your partner's top two and be really cognizant of those, but also think about this. So when your partner, think about their life, just them, even kind of, separate from how you relate to your relationship. If they aren't feeling like those needs are met in their life in general, it can impact their happiness.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
True.
It can impact the way they show up, right? If you think about it, if your partner is just working so hard, they don't feel like there's any spontaneity in their life, and that's important to them, and they don't feel like they're connected to anyone, they're going to probably not show up as the happiest person ever because these human needs aren't being met. And same thing for you too. Let's say, you're focusing a ton on the kids and it's all about them and you get to contribute to them. So maybe that bucket is full, but maybe you're not feeling, maybe uncertainty is part of it. Or maybe you're not feeling growth. Like you're like, I haven't grown. I feel it's, I'm giving and giving and giving, then you're going to feel less happy. So I think that when these human needs aren't met, it impacts both the individual happiness and the relationship satisfaction. So in a way, kind of like a homework item, an action item I'd give for you guys is, if together you're working on this and hearing this episode, to discuss, okay, yes, what are our top two human needs? But then to go, all right, how are these either being fulfilled or not being fulfilled in both our relationship, but also just life in general? Because let's say your partner's like, yeah, I really feel like every day is the same and I don't have any spontaneity. Maybe it'd be like, okay, you know what, honey, then I want you to go out tomorrow and do anything you want. Like just whatever you want, no schedule, go do it, right? So you can look for opportunities to help each other have more happiness and fulfillment.
And I want to talk about some of the challenges that come up when these needs, I think of them as tank levels, but when they're lower. But before that, you talked about being able to communicate this to each other. One thing that we haven't talked about very much on this is the communication on the Go course that we have. So I think that would be super powerful to help, especially someone that's in growth, but also since it's about communication, being able to express these needs to a partner in a way that can be really received.
Absolutely. That communication course is going to be especially helpful for those of you who've been feeling like you're having the same arguments over and over again. You feel like you're speaking different emotional languages and you need to work on communication, but you either don't know how or you're busy. And that's what's so cool about it being an on-the-go course. You literally can listen on your phone while you're on the go. You don't have to be sitting and stationary. You could even be like doing chores and listening and benefiting from it and then discuss it as a couple. And some key things, there's a lot that we cover in this communication and conflict course, but a few of the key things, you're going to get 4 ways to resolve conflict. You're going to get the effective communication model. Awesome. And foundational agreements to maintain peace, as well as something kind of different you may not expect from us, but actually guided visualizations and meditations. They're going to help you like re-envision how things could be in your relationship and really anchor in how you want to be as a couple by visualizing it, by meditating on it.
Starting to reprogram the subconscious.
Exactly. And so that communication course is found at meetthefreemans.com/communicating. So go to meetthefreemans.com/communicating. You're going to love that course. And Aaron, do you want to just kind of circle back to some of the ways that the 6 human needs are useful?
One of the things about challenges that maybe doesn't always get recognized is that challenges are going to come up in your relationship and in your marriage. And when you go through those certain seasons, which everything in life has certain cyclical seasons, and I think just acknowledging that is going to happen in your marriage as well. But when these challenges arise and you focus on the changes that are happening, your tanks can start to deplete in subtle ways. And when you think about these 6 human needs and them being like this kind of emotional, subjective thing in a way, it's not like loud. It's not all at once. Mm-hmm. So these things, when challenges come up, they're going to be kind of a slow depletion and often subtle, as I mentioned. So without realizing it, you can slowly seek to fill these needs in other ways. But the key here, I think, is seemingly very innocent ways. But it's really those innocent type of things that just get you on a slippery slope to getting certain needs fulfilled outside of the relationship.
Yeah.
Now, a key to that is, of course, you're supposed to have friends and connections and experience love and connection with other people in your life. But when you have a depletion in the marriage and to get that fulfilled, you start to seek it in other people, it can be a slippery slope. So I just wanted to see if we could give a couple of examples. So like certainty, for instance, right? For a partner that is feeling this depletion of certainty, and maybe it's because one partner is spending a lot, or if you have a partner that's a business entrepreneur investing, most of the income back into the business,
or they're not around a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things, and maybe you have an example as well. But in this case, I just happen to go to the finance one. One partner, because of the need for security and certainty not being there, might start to take some and put it into a side savings account. Now, there's nothing that big of a deal there, but over time that can start to feel like something hidden. Like, oh, now you just have this account over here by yourself that you didn't tell your partner about. So in the future, that could become something that would be a tripping hazard.
Yeah, I think that's really key, and why it's important to make sure you're keeping the 6 human needs top of mind so that you either aren't becoming disengaged because your needs aren't being met and you're not as happy and fulfilled, or to your point, not going and trying to fulfill them in other ways, which is really just a compensation, right? It's just trying to use a crutch. And so if you want your relationship to be vibrant, alive, engaged, you're both fulfilled, then you want to really check out what are our top 2, and we encourage you to do that assignment that we mentioned, because this is a game changer, and I'm so glad that we represenced this in our relationship to discuss.
And before we close this out here, we love to give you action items, so let me also summarize what we've been talking about. Though these 6 human needs will need to be things that are filled in your relationship, there are typically 2 that raise to the top. So your action is to determine what the top 2 are for you and the top 2 for your partner. And here's the main thing. Over the next, let's say, 2 weeks, you want to have a specific check-in with your partner to determine where the level of those tanks are at for those top 2.
And a great question you could ask your partner if they say it's a little bit lower is to go, awesome, what are some examples or ways that I could help raise that? All right, because you may not know and you don't need to guess, so ask them that question. And so we really hope that this was useful and insightful and something you're excited to discuss as a couple. We'd love to hear from you on Instagram. Either tag us in a story that you enjoyed this episode, or even just the DMs. We just love knowing who's listening, and we're Meet the Freemans on Instagram in case you didn't know. And then make sure to check out that on-the-go communication course at meetthefreemans.com/communicating. That link will also be in the show notes. But we love you all, and we are so grateful that we get to contribute to your relationship. And we'll talk to you on the next episode.